Kids, have you ever noticed the star here at Holy Cross? We put it up on the first Sunday of Advent, which was in November, and we leave it up all through Christmas, and then coming up on January 6th is Epiphany. And we leave it up for Epiphany and through that whole Epiphany season, which ends on February 16th this year. Here's why. It's supposed to help you remember the star that the wise men, the Magi, followed to find the baby Jesus. Do you remember that story? It's one of my favorites. But we put it up and leave it up for that whole season because seeking the baby Jesus, the Christ child, is what we really all do in this time of year. Let's talk just a little bit more about that. Those wise men, they're right here at Holy Cross. The Magi is what they're actually called in the Bible, Magi, which sounds like magic, but it means someone who studied what was science at the time. These are the scientists of the time who came seeking the baby Jesus, following the star. So, have you ever thought about being a scientist? Well, I did. For years I thought I was going to be a scientist, and then things changed a little bit when I was in college, and eventually I became a pastor. But do you know what scientists do? They use something called the scientific method, which means they're always asking questions. What's this about? What's that about? What does this mean? And this is where you come in. I think God calls all of us to be scientists, to use the scientific method to come closer to God, to our family, to our world around us. Who are the scientists in the world that you know? People who ask questions like, how do we solve this problem? There's a lot of them that come to mind these days because of the pandemic. I think of the amazing scientists who came up with the vaccines that are being distributed, just beginning to be distributed now, to protect us all from COVID-19. I think about the doctors and nurses who go to help people who have been sick, some of them with COVID-19, and it's a confusing problem that they end up having to try one thing and then another on, depending upon each person's illness. Who else do you know who's been scientific lately? I tell you, I think that pastors and church leaders have been scientific lately because they've been saying, what do we need to do to help people have church? How can church change so that everyone can still feel close to God? I think that's the scientific method. And your leadership at Holy Cross have been working hard to be scientific about these times. Here's what I'm getting to. As we enter the season of Epiphany, let's think more about that. The scientific method. How do we do this? What is it? What changes do we need to make? Because coming to church doesn't have to be exactly the way it was 20 years ago or even 10 months ago. We can change it. We can adapt it to what we need today. Let's be scientists like the Magi were as they followed the star, saying, what is it? And what can we learn from it? Anyway, one thing I really miss is being able to do children's sermons in person with you all, because you ask the best questions, and I miss that. That's one thing that I would like to have back, and I'm not quite sure the best way to do it. Can you think of a good way? Be scientists like the Magi and come up with some ideas, won't you? Let me know. Bye-bye. See you next time.